Hello everybody and welcome back to the EasyFab Speed YouTube channel. It is 9:45 on Thursday and I just got back from Michigan picking up my 9-inch differential housing, finally. This is the second trip, unfortunately, that I've had to make to Michigan to get this. They sent me the wrong diff housing originally, but it's all sorted. So, it's back brace 9-inch obviously. The housing ends are for the stock brakes. We got ABS sensors on here. We got 35 spline axles. This guy's a pretty serious unit, so I'm quite excited about it. Yeah, I wanted to put a 9-inch in this truck for a long time, and just never really was a priority, or didn't have the funds, or whatever you want to say. But yeah, so this obviously needs to go get coated. I'm going to also finish taking the rest of the shit apart that needs to go get coated. We got to do the brake mounts for the diff. We're going to reuse the factory Sierra brake mounts. I got to do the coilover still. I got to finish my intercooler. Bunch of stuff to get powder coated, so between now and Monday my goal is to get all of that apart and stripped and coated and whatever. I got my intake back today and my valve covers, so we're gonna get them assembled, get the burn down tube adapters in there and get the valve covers back on, get the intake back on probably tomorrow. And unfortunately, I ordered paint on Monday so that we could carry on with the chassis. And through some divine intervention, it's been sent Canada Post instead of overnighted through UPS. So I am not going to have it until this coming Monday, allegedly, which is a real problem because that gives us, I don't know, like 10 days to get the truck clean, prep, painted, assembled, start to finish, up to front, back and down, and upside down and back seat roundsies. So yeah, not really looking forward to that, but we're gonna get her done, I guess. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go home for the night because I'm exhausted. I just drove for 6 hours and obviously worked all day. So yeah, just wanted to show you this to start the video. I'm really excited about this. It is obviously slightly smaller than the factory diff, so we should actually save a significant amount of weight, which is crazy to say. And we're gonna gain some actual space between the box floor and the diff center, which has not been a problem in this truck, but it has touched. So knowing that I have a little bit more room, I don't know, is a nice bonus. So anyway, see you tomorrow. As you can see from the floor, I have been sanding, cleaning, and painting all night. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so I guess technically it's Saturday, but there is a significant amount more paint on this thing than there was. So this is another 4 cans, believe it or not, and most of this cross member is not done. This cross member is not done. The back corner of this chassis, both these cross members are not done. But the vast majority, it's still, I just painted it, so if you notice some weird glossy spots, it's because it's still very wet. But yeah, I would say we're probably, I don't know, 70% of the way through the frame now. And I've gone through 7 cans of paint. So I still need to do the outsides of both rails. But the good news is that all this area is done. So I can stick the transmission and transfer case back in. What else do I have to tell you? You guys saw that last night. Had a bunch of stuff show up today. This is the 3D printed aluminum bracket. that we designed that goes up there. So this is going to go out for powder coat on Monday, along with the absolute horde of other stuff. So yeah, really happy with how that turned out. It's a really nice piece. This was about, I think it was $240 delivered Canadian. So I don't know. Right now, maybe $160 US. EBC rotors, front and rear, with the EBC yellow stuff pads. The brakes are smoked on this thing. The rears especially. This truck's got 150K on it, and I've never ever done rear brakes on it. I know that for sure. The fronts I swapped out at some point to the 2020 style, but you can see the heat marks in these things. These are not that old either, so it takes a lot to slow this thing down. So hopefully the new brake setup goes a little further. So yeah, tomorrow Carlo's supposed to be bringing my bolts around, which are all the zinc coated, yellow zinc coated. So we'll be able to clean the rack. Start putting, like transfer case mounts back in, or front diff mounts back in, and whatever else I can muster up now that we've got some paint on the thing. I won't be able to put diff or leaf springs or anything. I got to get these torn apart. I'm gonna have them coated. I got to get what else? I need to finish the intercooler that I've said 100 times already. We got to get front diff cleaned. I mean, technically the front diff could go back in tomorrow if we get a good clean on it. I probably should have taken that with me and had the whole thing just dry ice blasted as well, but maybe we'll talk to Carlo tomorrow and see what he says about, see if they're going to do another dry ice blast this week. Because if they are, I'll just send him with that, and that'll save me a pile of time. But yeah, rack can go back in tomorrow. Transmission and transfer case is going to go in. That'll allow me to hook up, shifter cable, things like that. And what else? I'll lower this thing down because I got the valve covers and the intake back on it. They came from powder coat today, so give me a second and I will drop it down. Yeah, so I mean the intake's just sitting there for now. The heads are still taped off, so I'm gonna have to pop that back off. But intake and valve covers are on. I got these breather guys all assembled and bolted onto there for good. The rails we did in gloss black, just because I really wanted to get rid of the Holley logo on them. So yeah, we coated the rails gloss black. These heater hoses are a bit of an issue, and because I couldn't wait and did them before I got the valve covers back, they're kind of resting on everything. They're a bit too short. So I'm probably going to redo them. We'll do them so that they kind of loop up here a little bit more. They are kind of fine the way they are right now, but they are resting on this guy and directly blocking my oil fill, which is annoying. So not that big a deal. I got lots of heater hose here, so we'll just redo those probably tomorrow. I'll probably put the motor in first so that, the motor is, or put the transmission in first, sorry, so that the motor's at exactly the right angle. And then, yeah, redo those. But yeah, it's really starting to look like a hot rod. Let me get a good angle here. It's a good looking unit. So we got 13 days to get this thing going. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go home and get a few hours of sleep and then come back. So bye. Happy Saturday, everybody. Check this out. Just got all the hardware back from Carlo. He dropped it off, so I just went through it all and organized everything. But this is pretty amazing. It all looks brand new again. And the nice thing is that it all matches now. If you're familiar with GM stuff, it's usually all like this weird gray color. And then obviously stuff we've added in is going to be this similar zinc stuff or stainless. So the fact that now everything matches is really nice. Even these are the DJM control arm adjuster lockout Deweys, so they match everything. Did all the control arm bolts and leaf spring bolts and body mount bolts and body mount washers and sway bar bolts. So everything turned out really nice. So now we can really start jamming shit back together, which makes me quite excited. Happy Sunday, folks. I am in here today trying to get all the remaining things ready to go for powder coat tomorrow. So this is my Davies Craig bracket that I drew, and I just drew it with 2 straight flanges on it just so I could cope it correctly to this manifold. So I want this to sit parallel with basically the square line of the cooler brick. So I'm going to start roughly notching it out like that, but I'm going to hammer out a bunch of stuff in this video and try not to bore you with too much talking. So we shall reconvene later. I'm going to get that welded. I got to shorten up my parachute mount today, disassemble the coilovers, finalize this stack of stuff to go for powder coat, and start, assembling the rest of the stuff that I can. Sway bar can go back in. I can put this transfer case mount back together. Front diff mount, sorry, not transfer case. I had the studs done for it, so we'll press those back in, put the bushings back in, get it mounted. And then, yeah, again, the first and foremost thing we need to do is prioritize everything that needs to go for powder coat, get these apart, get the bracket for the brakes off my original diff. Excuse me. And then once all that stuff's good to go, then we can, pick away at whatever else needs to be picked away at. Well, I'm going to consider this a pretty successful evening. I have got everything done and ready for coating, aside from shortening my parachute mount, which I will do first thing tomorrow. But yeah, this is my alternator bracket. We took the ICT logo out of there. Sorry, ICT. Got my bracket for the heat exchanger pump mounted. Got the leaf springs apart, blew all the bushings out of them. Caltrac come with an aluminum bushing for the front, and I've got an energy set to go in the rear. I started taking the bushings out of my shackles, and the energy bushing kit has a different size, so the OEs must be different, but that's not a big deal. I just ordered new Beltec shackles tonight. These have been on the truck for, I don't know, at least I would say upwards of 10 years now. And I used to pull trailers with this truck all the time and whatever, so the bushing in those were pretty spent. So if I don't have the energy bushings to go in, I just ordered new ones. They're cheap enough. So yeah, all this is going to go out for coating first thing tomorrow, directly after I cut that down and re-weld it. And then I'm going to start cleaning. The steering and the front diff will be next to go in. And there's no reason they can't go in, excuse me, after a good clean. The front diff especially. The rack got mostly cleaned up while it was getting dry ice blasted. So that diff's got to get cleaned up and tossed in. But we're in not bad shape. Hopefully get this back by the weekend. And then we can really blast this thing together. I am just going to spray paint my 9-inch housing for the time being. And there is several reasons for that. When we bring the truck back from Motorama, I am going to need to do a few things like run brake lines. And I'm going to pull the box off because I'm going to re-notch these 2 cross members. So the big one is brake lines. There used to be a tab up here for the factory ones, and if you've ever notched one of these trucks, you know that the brake lines run along the top of the chassis rail, and they don't really fit all that nice. There's not really a nice way to bend them so that they come across the side of the notch in a decent fashion. So I'm going to wind up redoing the brake lines. I have to make brake lines for that diff anyway, obviously. So yeah. that's the big reason. The diff is going to have to get a couple things, you know, drilled and welded and tapped and whatever, and then it can go get powder coated. And yeah, but like I said, I got all new leaf spring pads coming. Rock Auto's great for that kind of stuff. And then look at how clean and tidy this is. This is the left side diff mount that I got back in. These are all the factory hardware that were zinc coated. And then these are energy suspension bushings that I've had in the truck for quite a while, but they got a good cleaning. And then I had these powder coated as well. So tomorrow we'll do the other side. Like I showed you earlier, I got to press those studs in. So yeah, quite excited to get all this back. I'm a little anxious about getting these brackets done. These are the rear caliper brackets, and you can see barely that they were just like factory GM zinc coated. They don't use the yellow stuff, but they do like a kind of a nickel sort of deal, which is why everything rusts so bad. But I'm gonna have them coated and see how they turn out, and if I don't like them, we'll use them for Motorama, and then I'll have them blasted again, and we'll get them zinc coated. Again, the diff's got to come out and get torn apart regardless, so I'm not that concerned about it. But yeah, spindles are going. All this junk is going to look brand new again, which is pretty exciting. So this has turned into far more of a restoration than I had anticipated, but we're this far now, and I'm insanely happy with how it's turning out. So this is kind of what I pictured this truck turning into for the last few years anyway, and we've just never really had the time. So I'm glad that it's turning into something. I feel rushed right now, which I hate, but for all intents and purposes, it should look the part for the show, and then we can take it apart and finish whatever needs to be finished going forward. So I'm gonna go home. It's, what is it? 10 minutes to midnight on Sunday night. So go home, have a shower, grab a few hours of sleep, and we'll be back for work in the morning. Goodbye.